Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MilsimUnits.com podcast. I'm your host, C. Brock, as always, and with us here tonight to ring in 2026, we have several leaders from Spectre Works, SWS. With us, we have DOE, the unit leader,
Good evening, everybody. Pleasure to meet y'all.
and we have Fraser, ground force lead.
Definitely a pleasure to be around. Good to be here.
Well, likewise, gentlemen, it's good to have you with us. Just looking at your Discord, the last couple of evenings, taking a peek at what you got going here. I'm definitely looking forward to, taking a closer look and, hearing it from the ground and, from the air, so to speak. So, as always, I want to start with you guys. Can you tell us about your start in Milsim? Where did it all begin, and how long have you guys been in Milsim Gaming?
Oh man, if I had to really put a pin in it, that's a testament as old as time. Truthfully, it really started back in the old days of Battlefield 3. Got into doing some Battlefield 3 milsims through there, and old Arma 2. I've been around the block with multiple different milsim units and milsim communities, whether it be A2 or A3. Primarily being A3 with the 10th Ranger Regiment. I went through Task Force 121, 3rd MRB, some pretty high tier units that really like to go get stuff done, and they tend to show out fairly well for their community.
And myself, same testament there. Started out Battlefield 3, moved into 4, did the old school XGN Battlefield 4 Milsims, and then really before dipping my feet into Arma 3, I did Reforger for a while. I had a 4.6 Cav unit I ran, um, based out of Lewis McCord, and then got dipped my feet into Arma 3 a little bit. I've only been doing this about Arma 3 just over a year. Um, Joined a couple groups. Bro Nation really started the whole like branching out into the different types of areas you can touch with Arma 3, and then um, got brought on here at Spectre Works and kind of hit the ground running with uh, leading the ground forces, primarily a Marine unit. Um, you know, doing it from a more recon aspect than anything. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my pedigree there. Not
Mm.
not as crazy as DOA, but yeah, I'm
No,
but yeah,
you
that's
know,
it.
both of you sound pretty storied. Well experienced. I mean, playing and working across multiple titles here. I mean, yeah, you're taking us way back there. So, yeah, a lot of, like you said, a lot of top tier, tier one level units here. People that we've had on the podcast previously, people that we've played with various, joint ops and other kind of community ops, definitely. So, quite a good mix of Milsim experience here. So, yeah, you've been in it for years. Now, tell us about Spectre Works here. I mean, how did you guys gravitate towards this particular theme? I mean, just looking at it, it seems like you guys are very solid combined arms, Milsim oriented, with not only your ground forces, of course, but significant or significant aviation detachments, I should say. So, what is it that brought you to that particular kind of theme within the genre, and what is it that makes it so compelling for all your members across those various kind of billets and specialties?
Ideally, SpectreWorks came about early to late 2003 or 2023. I apologize. And it initially started out as a project by two or three good buddies of mine. We all met through a prior server called Bro Nation, and with this idea, we took a look at many of the milsims that you see around nowadays, and there's certainly a lot of great templates that you have from these milsims on how it would work out, how you need to do things, and etc. But the one thing that we wanted to try to put a spin on with Spectre Works is with a lot of these more in tune milsims, it's typically it's a deliberation from base Arma is what I would say. So we created Spectre Works to be more of a open community asset to allow people who haven't necessarily been through the Milsim ringer, gone through anything quite as realistic as some of these other Milsims, and kind of give them a step forward to allow them to get into it.
Hmm.
A big thing that we like to pride ourselves in is we try to run our operations and run our servers in a different light than what I would say most milsims do. Is we primarily use the a live mod on our servers. So we pride ourselves in making super detailed and down to earth alive servers where our personnel and our different units can get onto our servers anytime and through their creativity create operations or little small unit tactic drills that they want to run anytime they want to. They don't have to necessarily wait for the big unit operations.
Hmm. That's pretty interesting. So you're empowering just about everybody there who's got the wherewithal to go about doing it to get game going or some kind of match going, whatever scenario, and drawing other people on there. Uh, it sounds like you could do that on pretty short notice. Now, I mean, is this like a regular thing or is it just impromptu as you get through the week?
Realistically, we do hold our major campaigns. We do have story-driven events. Our latest one just brought us out of the region of North Takistan.
Hmm.
That campaign went through our SWS. We were embedded with local ANA forces, and we were actually fighting ISIS-K and a regiment of the ANA that went ahead and withdrew from normal practices within Pakistan, and we're actually transitioning to more of a expeditionary um, expeditionary campaign within Winter Chernarus, pushing back some Russian opposition. But a way that a way that I would explain normally is with our major operations, those are typically 2 to 3 times a month. We do have multiple curators who build to the story in multiple ways, and we all kind of flesh it out together. But realistically, day-to-day operations, we've got several guys that throughout the week will hold impromptu patrols, impromptu recon elements, and they like to call them a walk through the woods in their small talk. But these are times where guys who necessarily can't join the major story driven operations can get into the server, learn how to do things, and really do operations at a high level without necessarily signing up for the big ops.
Yep, keeping those connections going regardless of people's conflicting time schedules and all that stuff. So yeah, it's an important thing of or aspect I should say of any milsim, any unit really to keep everybody engaged and taking a stake to move forward. So that's great. Now, tell us about an operation that has really challenged you. Again, you guys, you have a lot of forces across these different domains, across the battle space. So, can you describe a scenario, an operation, or a mission where, your cohesion, your unit skills were really, tested in a way? What stands out? Is there any missions that are kind of set apart?
Uh, Absolutely. I mean, one of our most recent missions I could certainly use as an example. We It was our initial infill to the latest campaign that we're running. We were doing a beachhead landing using LCACs, and we had a forward recon element placed up in the mountains, kind of acting as fisters for any arty that we had coming in to soften up that beachhead. And a way that it challenged our guys, truthfully, was prior to this deployment, we can call it, they were used to fighting less than near peer individuals. Obviously, we were fighting ISIS-K over in Pakistan,
Hmm.
so the greater military industrial complex of the U.S., when you're bringing it to bear on something like ISIS-K, there is a clear difference in fighting level and a difference in readiness there. And making this beachhead landing certainly proved a little interesting for them due to the fact that this is one of the first times that some of the newer guys are fighting a near peer adversary. And with that, they did encounter issues as far as making this beachhead landing, having our CCTs, bringing in air cover to soften up any armor that we had sitting on the beach, and then our recon element actually ran into a little bit of trouble as well as we had them forward deployed and taking out your forward artillery and your forward AAA just to kind of clear the area for our air cover, and they came under some pretty serious contact. I'm sure Fraser can explain a little bit from the recon element side of things.
Please.
So I lead the since our structure and our server is like unit based. I lead the 26 Mu. Um, so I primarily lead the four-con detachment. So we were forward deployed with a couple of the tier one guys from another group inside the server. Um, as he said, recon, take out any forward artillery, any AAA air asset, stuff like that. During the forward recon, one of us made the bad decision to click C or X and stood up, and we got sighted.
Hmm.
So with doing alive things, that whole squad just about faced and started sending us under cover, and in true life fashion, calling in APCs and IFVs to our location to just kind of hammer us. Um, so we, disengaged, regrouped in a near town, which would have been Boar on Trinaris, if anybody else is familiar with Trinaris.
Hmm.
Um, and then wrapped around to the main engagement again to try and keep the threat off of the main landing force, because during that time they were getting hammered by enemy artillery, and we didn't really have any skilled medics with us because we're bare bones. We have bolt guns and and binoculars, and so we brought ourselves back from that little debacle and started re-engaging. And at that point, the main fighting force had made it to the beach. Got the APCs and the Abrams unloaded,
Hmm.
um, to where we had that little bit of a backing support, as far as taking out the additional vehicles and personnel. Um, but as far as that recon went, that was kind of the tough situation, because with it being a computer game, you're gonna make mistakes and press the wrong buttons, and you're like, oh, well, that's kind of crappy. Um, so that's from my standpoint. That was the tough hammer and nails right there.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, frankly, that sounds pretty badass as far as game scenarios or any kind of milsim operation goes. I mean, just again, the combined arms, the fact that you have armor, I mean, that right there is something that stands out in my mind. It's pretty rare when all things are considered. But talking about recon, I mean, you're up front. I mean, you're going to be ahead of the main force, from the get go. So it's a hairy situation, but just the fighting, the moving, surviving. I mean, that's what we all really, I think speaking for a lot of people, that's what we all look for at the end of the day. So sounds like a hell of operation. Now I got to ask, did you guys meet all of your objectives and complete that mission?
I would say that primarily we met all of our objectives. We did have an unfortunate loss towards the end where we had a AAA battery that was still set up due north of our current beachhead. And whenever our guys called in for exfil, upon 5-10 minutes of the 5 line being dropped, we did have a bird come in, and we did unfortunately lose a bird to AAA. So that did certainly set up the next phase of the operation that we have coming up this Saturday, where it's certainly coming to a head that AAA within the region is relatively thick. And if we want to have this superior air cover that we usually always have, we're going to have to take care of the AAA primarily.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's a hard lesson to learn, but the fact that you guys are taking that in and as far as the storyline goes and developing your mission sets from there. I mean, I feel your pain, and in the Armorverse, I mean, all kinds of things can go crazy. So, flying on a good day in clear weather is not easy for a lot of pilots out there. But yeah, seeing how you guys come together and pull this off, I mean, it's got to be a hell of an experience. I mean, it sounds pretty cinematic. So. Really impressive overall. Now, you mentioned, I mean, you've got, your hardcore story-driven, combat missions here, but in addition to that, and the kind of, the training ops or just the fun ops that you guys put together in between, what kind of practices or other events do you use within Spectre Works to build that tight knit community? I mean, especially for the new guys coming in, what can they expect when they come through the door and fall into line with you guys?
Uh, Primarily, if I had to put a tone to that, we do have obviously our more story driven, heavier net ops. We do have these training organizations. One of them being from our tier 1 unit lead. He actually has a rip class that he puts on twice a week, and that's just to bring new guys in, bring guys that haven't necessarily had the experience in doing these operations, and it allows them to learn certain elements to what makes an operation and learn certain things as to how to make yourself better within an operation, whether that be CQC, land nav, basic J tacking. We do have rotary, but as far as kind of stepping away from the more hardcore element, we do actually have a secondary server within Spectre Works, and we call it our event server. And the event server is a place that we use to great extent for a lot of kind of lower down the totem pole fun operations where the regulations are a little bit more lax. You're going over there to have a good time, do different things other than, for lack of better words, get beat on by the Russians. um, and the most recent thing that we've had going on with our event server is we actually have a Red Dawn side campaign that we've been running as well.
Nice.
Um, and primarily, the event server works out to that regard with we have some guys that are newer to curating. They haven't actually had the ability to really sit behind the Zeus chair and run operations. So we allow them to get behind the wheel on the event server and really run these rather fun missions on the event server, and it gives them not only the time and the seat to learn how Zeus works and learn how can I curate this better, how could I have done this better, but it gives our guys a lot of different and fun things to mix up. I think as of recently, they've had the Red Dawn server popping with, they actually just went into one of the main towns on that server and did a HVT rescue. And of course, if you know anything about Red Dawn or you've watched any of the movies, hopefully the older movie, for God's sake, don't watch the new one. Um, they're the main premise behind the story is you're a bunch of high school football players who are coming to bear against the North Koreans with their Russian advisors, and um, they have a command structure in which the basic lead on that server is their Patrick Swayze. So Patrick Swayze and his guys went in and they were doing basically what I would call American insurgents or placing IEDs within the region to disrupt the North Koreans.
That sounds like a good time to me. So definitely, I mean, you guys are keeping it mixed, varying it, keeping like you said, the kind of the tone and the pace, letting people, more or less blow off some steam. You can only go hardcore so much before, or so long before, you want to kind of change things and just keep it fun. So yeah, it sounds like a great time to me. Now, we talked about, some of the challenges to your unit cohesion here. How you guys function on the battle space. I mean, obviously, you guys you work hard in the series operations. You have a good time on the lighter kind of side of your events here. But looking at Spectre Works going back to 2023, looking at your leaders here, your growth and your evolution. Can you think of a particular setback that you guys faced and it seemed insurmountable? It's like what did you come across as you were kind of rising up through the ranks, so to speak, where you had to rally together to move forward?
So I'll kind of touch on that. So the main setback, pulling people from other communities, um, you know, like-minded individuals that want to take a step back and do something different, more modern. Um, you're gonna it's across the board. Multiple Milsims probably deal with this. I've dealt with this in the past. Is people just don't feel like doing it anymore. Um, they beat the horse for months on end trying to set up a community, trying to set up a server, um, and then they just get burnt out to where you know no messages are received, no updates on projects that they're doing within the server. Um, it's the tale before time. People get tired of doing what they're doing and then they just quit. Um, I feel like that has been the main thing for us. Um, but on a lighter note, you're gonna have people that join a group and they're not gonna be as immersed or all in as X amount of other people. You run into that anywhere. People are gonna joke around when at times where the op is starting or um, you know going and doing their own thing while squads are going out doing certain objectives and um, trying to keep a rein on XYZ person, um, while A, B, and C groups are going out and doing what they need to be doing. That just the little things like that. The little struggles going into that situation. Little with us being a little bit of a starting group, smaller group. Trying to get a hone in on the main group that joined the server, um, to basically start anew. Um, to set that example has kind of been one of the struggles for us as far as unit and community side goes. I'm sure DOA will touch a little bit on that a little bit too.
Mm.
I mean, looking at it from the an issue that we've had primarily has been finding the right guys for the job. Um, we've certainly gone through our rotations of command staff on how we're going to have different guys lead these elements within the overall and have these guys be able to make the decisions for these for these elements. In which case, this decision could bring up the fact that the element may no longer be a part of larger unit operations. So it's been certainly a some trials and tribulations to find the right guys for the right job, and I think as of recently, it's been within the last 2 or 3 months actually. We've got that down pat. We've got some guys in leadership positions now that are doing a phenomenal job. They're doing everything that we could ever ask them for. Fraser being one of them as our main ground force lead with the 2-6. There for a while, for about 5 or 6 months, the Marine Corps, we did have some guys at that level that were doing a really good job, but the biggest testament to it would be life unfortunately started getting in the way. And our main thing at Spectre is, life is always going to come first at the end of the day, right? This is something that you can always come back to. This is something that's always going to be here, good Lord willing. Um, so if life gets in the way, we have no problem with assisting you or finding a way to move you to a position that'll be more beneficial. And we've certainly got that ironed out. As far as the guys coming in, it has been a little interesting because we have been having some recruits that pop in, and we get to explain to them what Spectre is overall. And I think there's been a small misconception as of probably 2 or 3 weeks ago that we're a little bit more hardcore than it seems. And by all means, don't get me wrong. We do as close to realism with our trainings as we can. We want you to learn things that are going to be taught by guys that have either actually done it or have spent far too much time learning it just on their own accord.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we want you to be able to come in and have a good time. We want you to have fun. We want you to realize what you are doing is fun. And I don't want it to turn into, oh, I've got to show up to this operation because I'm a part of this unit. Would I like to have you there? Absolutely. If I could have 1,000 guys at every single one of our operations, one, I wouldn't know what to do with myself because as a curator, that's astounding. But two, um, it would just be, it'd be a very welcome thing to have. But at the same time, it's not that we don't want you there. It's that if it is starting to become a chore to show up and you're starting to dread showing up just because that's how this thing tends to work out at the end of the day, if you run a particular operation or you run a particular unit, game, whatever you want to call it, for an extended period of time, there is a burnout period. And when that burnout period comes, we're certainly going to try to do our best to change things up and get things flowing where it feels different. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't feel different, then we'll take a step back and adjust it how we need to.
Sure. I mean, you hit on a lot of critical points there, I think, that are relevant for just about any leader out there. Whether you're talking about Milsim, real life, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, leadership issues, burnout across the board. I mean, that's, that affects sustainability. How do you overcome that? But I mean, it sounds like, I mean, looking at your Orbat here, it's almost like Spectre is in a way kind of an organism, and you guys have your different parts that are all kind of functioning and developing and evolving as the situation dictates and as needs arise. But overall, it seems like you're taking a mature, realistic approach, focusing on keeping things fun, and like you said, not having people feel like it's a burden. Because yeah, if it's a chore, if it feels like a job, I mean, where's the fun in that? I mean, nobody can sustain that. So you guys are going 2 years strong here. Looking forward to 2026 as we mentioned at the start here. So seems like you got a lot of good things going for you.
Certainly hope so.
Yeah, well, that's the thing here. I always look forward to keeping in touch, keeping comms open, and seeing how things continue to evolve and develop in the community as units arise and kind of grow and develop, like I mentioned, and just evolve into the future. It really is wide open, as I've said before. But I want to ask you about your engagement with the greater community here. So, You got a lot of good things going on here on your two servers here. Your serious ops, your kind of lighter side of gaming here. But what can you tell us about your interaction with other units within the Milsim community? Do you have any partnerships, rivalries for that matter, collaborations that define your place in the ecosystem? And with all your history here, can you tell us about your relationships with the other units out there?
So primarily, what I would say is with with Spectre still being weaned off of what we're building, we haven't unfortunately made any partnerships just yet,
Hmm.
and we are certainly in the future looking into making some partnerships, getting with some other units on some co-unit ops, and being able to run some larger events that have multiple different milsims as a part of it. Um, as far as like the rivalry aspect of it, truthfully, we don't have any particular rivalries that I know of from a leadership point of view. I know a big thing is even if there was, we don't want to have any rivalries with anybody because at the end of the day, the way we feel about it is if we can all come together and make something very, very interesting, then there's no reason to butt heads on it. Sure, there's going to be a difference of opinion on what rotary assets should be used or how a ground force can do things differently. And at the end of the day, there, I would much rather have those differences of opinion come together and be able to create an operation or a sequence of events that is beneficial to the overall community rather than things turn sour. Um, and as far as collaborations go, indirectly, I know we have several individuals within our community as a whole that have taken part in several other unit operations throughout the scale. We have a multitude of guys who have gone through, I believe, Karmacut, he had the Kill Cog server, and we've had several guys that have done that. Um, Speaking on another server that we do have guys that run on, Bro Nation, and Bro Nation being one of the larger Vietnam servers out there, we have several guys that go over there and get their Vietnam on,
Yep.
and we tend to treat that as not not a rivalry. We don't really get bent out of shape if we have guys going over there and doing these operations. I treat it more as a way to learn um, with these indirect collaborations, and every time it helps us because our guys that do take or do participate in those particular operations or events, they come back and they say, hey, this is something very, very cool that I saw over here. I wonder if we can find a way to incorporate it within our greater sphere of events and or operations.
Sure. Yeah, I got to say, it's like I don't come on here to do, endorsements or, advertisements or whatever. But yeah, Pro Nation, I mean, they run great servers, and I got to say, I've been on their Vietnam servers before, just with friends. We didn't have anything running Vietnam era on our unit servers, so we went to Pro Nation and we had a blast, many times. So it is what it is, and I mean, again, you take a great attitude here in terms of just keeping it mature, but also looking to one thing that I always appreciate to bring out the best in everybody, and here at Milsim Units, we try to facilitate as many relationships, collaborations, however you want to look at it, as possible within the community. So keep your eyes open here. If we can help to, when you guys are ready to get out there and start doing some joint ops with other units or, whatever you have in mind, for your guys, if we could be of assistance and make that a reality, I mean, that's what, it's really what we're all about here. So definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys have coming up here.
And we'd certainly enjoy it. There's a lot of great units out there that are doing just phenomenal work, and I've got rotary aviators, fixed wing aviators over here that sometimes we may not use them in operations as much as we need to. And I feel like with the joint aspect and getting multiple units together, we would be able to open up a broader spectrum of what is going to happen with an operation. And not only that, um, one of the big things being, truthfully, with a joint operation, it's a way to learn. You've
Yep.
got all these other units coming in into a great melting pot of an operation, and there might be guys from another particular unit that will learn stuff from our tier one guys or our Marine Corps guys. And then there's also the same side of the board. Our Marine Corps guys might learn something that they had no idea they even existed from another unit. So that's certainly an aspect that we're definitely looking forward to.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like there's, I mean, for all intents and purposes, a lot more opportunities for just kind of enrichment at at the individual level, but also at the unit level with these interactions. When I was asking about rivalries, I was like, all right, these guys got aviation, they've got Marines, they've got JSOC, special force units on the ground here. It's like obviously they've got a big mix here that they're keeping it together somehow. So if they have any rivalries, they probably already worked that out. But yeah, great to hear. Definitely. So looking forward to to keeping things going and developing these relationships and these interactions going forward. So I got to ask, you as a tier one unit here at milsimunits.com, obviously you guys are, like I said, you're invested here in the platform. You're working with us. We're doing our best to work with you and help you kind of unlock the potential you got going within Spectre. So since joining, how has your relationship with us been? I mean, have we helped your unit's visibility? Have we helped you make those additional connections within the community?
I would certainly say that since joining milsimunits.com, it's certainly helped us get out there. Um, the greater the greater scheme of recruiting within an Arma Milsim it rounds down to one thing. Um, Typically, the Arma sphere is so oversaturated with every unit trying to reach out there and get at certain times throughout the year a minute amount of individuals that want to come in. And since joining milsimunits.com, it's certainly helped us getting our name out there, having the website to where it's as simple as our guys using the voting bot to not only increase our relevance within the overall armor sphere, but it puts the name out there fairly easy. And it does certainly help to have your name out there, have people know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and then also to be, um, as you said, a tier one unit under milsimunits.com. It's almost like a impromptu vetting process. So typically individuals who are joining a milsim, whenever they see, hey, these guys are either partnered or working under milsimunits.com, they know there's a greater sphere of influence there, that this unit probably knows what they're doing and knows what they want to do, rather than some startup that is just kind of appearing out of the woodwork.
Sure. And I appreciate that. I mean, definitely, that's the thing. We're legit. We're, just again, this is a labor of love. We're just trying to bring units together, bring players together, and have as much fun. Because Arma is a great game. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's so saturated now. What is it, 12 plus years that we've all been playing it. But there are new people coming in every day, guys who are looking for a change of pace. They want to try something new, and we're here to do what we can to keep you guys in the mix, keep your name out there where people can see it and find it, and get in touch with you guys if they like what they see going there. So, I mean, you gave us a great endorsement of your own right there. I gotta to ask you as a leader here. I mean, there are other units that are up and coming. We've got other titles that are getting onto the platform outside of the Armorverse for that matter. So you mentioned some of the perks that you guys have enjoyed here that really benefited you. I mean, do you have any advice for anybody who's thinking about joining up as a tier one unit, but they're kind of on the fence? I mean, what would be the the kind of the selling point for you?
The greatest selling point for this would definitely be just the ease of access to get your name out there. Any Some advice that I would give a unit that's looking into it would be honestly, guys, we've been there, we've done that, we've tried individual recruiting, we've tried, the tried and true method prior to finding milsimunits.com was Reddit. And you go to Unit Finder on Reddit, and there's 1,000 posts of people in there,
Yep.
and the issue with that and the advice that I would give on that is yes, it does help, but you're going to get lost in the mix. Whereas whenever you come join up as a tier one subscription with Milsim units, you're at the forefront, and they give you basically all the knowledge and all the infrastructure needed to where you bring up the voting bot within your community, and all you got to do is tell your guys, hey, we've got this vote bot here. If we want to continue growing, we want to continue doing good things, just as simple as click this button and click this button, and suddenly you're out there for the community to see, rather than continuously posting and trying to do it on your own. Because coming from somebody who certainly tried to do it on their own for 2 years, you will see some growth, but you're not gonna you're gonna have a higher burnout rate doing it on your own as leadership within a milsim if you are just coming up, rather than if you were to come get with somebody like milsim units and have the ability and have the know-how that they bring to the table. So I would certainly say if you are hesitant, go ahead and pull the trigger on it and just get ready for all the help that you can receive.
Well, that's great, and I appreciate it again. I mean, definitely, we're here to be a force multiplier. We've got monthly subscriptions, we've got annual subscriptions. We got different tier levels if you want to kind of get your toes in the water and see how the benefits start to add up. So definitely, I always appreciate that feedback. It's like we'll take it all, good, bad, ugly. We want to know what we can do better, what we can continue to do well, and working with you and the other unit leaders out there, what we can't come up with as we continue to develop features and to make those connections come about. So good shit, if you don't mind me saying. So I got to ask, looking at Spectre, we talked about your potential going into 2026. Let's jump ahead a year, going into New Year 2027. What's a major goal that you guys have within the unit? Do you guys have a particular plan on how you're gonna bring the unit forward going into the next year?
I certainly have some plans. I'll go ahead and let Fraser talk about the plans moving forward for our ground forces and our overall visibility with our ground units, and then I'll follow up after him.
Sounds good. All right.
So speaking on that, you got to take small steps before you can run. Um, my goal, as being a ground force lead, is having guys. That's any struggle as we just talked about. Got to focus on that first five. Got to focus on the first five people that come into the server. Get them acquainted. Um, then we can worry about 10, 15, 20. Going on down the line. Getting them acquainted, getting them to be a part of the niche that is Milsim and Chillsim gaming. Um, getting them incorporated, getting them where they need to be, the unit they want to be. You want to be a combat controller, you want to be aviation, whatever you want to do. Finding that first group to incorporate. Um, you know, and then moving on from there. It's going to be me personally inside the unit. That's going to be my goal as far as my role as a ground leader, is to find the people to populate the armor, the recon, the day-to-day Marines. You know, with the subscription to Milsim units, that's going to open up a new broader spectrum um, as far as recruiting goes. So one foot in front of the other is what I'm going to say about that. Just trying to get and retain good quality guys and move forward to the bigger picture as we near 2027.
Hmm. Solid.
And to build off of that, I certainly agree. You know, we're looking for individuals to come in and really immerse themselves on what we're doing and kind of, for lack of better words, drink the Kool-Aid. You know, we want guys to come in 2026, 2027 and see what Spectre's all about, be able to learn, be able to get some operations under their belt and really get moving. Um, from a leadership side of things, we're going to be looking into not only doing joint ops and building these um, building these assets with other units and getting things rolling as far as that, but from a curator and a leadership point of view, we're going to be looking at getting guys who haven't necessarily had the time to get behind a Zeus or be able to curate and run their own events. I want to be able to stress that and get these guys who have always had interest in it the ability to do it. Because I do find that within the greater sphere of influence, you have individuals that join communities, join units, and stuff like that. And the typical broad spectrum terminology is going to be the FNG. And unfortunately, how it goes, nobody tends to listen to the FNG. So with that coming about, I do want to listen to the little guy in 26 and 27 and give the little guy the ability to grow up per se and really get the ability to do what they want within the Milsim community as a broad spectrum. If I have guys that come into Spectre and we're able to teach them how to be a better curator, how to be a better pilot, or how just to have more fun than they have been um, in broad spectrum ops, then certainly we're doing our job. Um, I would love to be able to retain those individuals and keep those individuals in because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many servers you have, it doesn't matter what kind of infrastructure you have. All that matters is being able to keep and retain personnel. So I would say our main goal for 27 is going to be slowly growing, putting one foot in front of the other, getting these individuals in, and hopefully keeping them.
Solid goals. Just listening to Fraser here and him a few minutes ago when we were talking, I was thinking, yeah, recruiting and retention, it's kind of like herding cats, at least for infantry life. But I mean, you hit on some real, kind of like make or break, points when it comes to not only leadership but specifically Milsim leadership. I mean, it's yeah, we're all trying to keep it attractive to a very diverse group, a crowd, community of gamers out here. But the fact that you are taking the time to invest in your guys so that if they do want to develop new skills, new experiences, and then get more involved, you've got all the resources there, on the ground for them or in the air for that matter, so they can take that next step. So that right there, I mean, it's healthy for a unit, but I think it's an attractive, kind of, point of discussion for new people coming in. And always put the social media links in our description here for our podcast guests. So definitely, I'll have the website link, your Discord there, so that people can get eyes on for themselves and get in touch with you to learn more about what you have planned for the year ahead. So, I talked about, earlier, kind of indirectly about the crossover between, Milsim and then real life. Obviously, real life comes first, I mean, in terms of priorities, but you can also learn things and apply things both ways in Milsim. So I got to ask, both of you guys, what's a particular skill or a trait that you've developed in Milsim gaming that you've been able to carry over into your real world lives?
One for me would probably be just overall multitasking, truthfully.
Hmm.
I already did it with the current occupation that I'm in, but through leadership channels and kind of the herding cats that there is recruiting, um, multitasking is a huge thing that I have carried over from since starting to run Spectre and getting Spectre built. Um, throughout the Milsim verse, you've got 7 different things that need to happen at once, and you've always got to get them done within a time frame. And the big thing that has assisted me, at least, has being able to really sit down and realize that I've got 5 or 6 things that need to be done. They need to be done on this day, and that carries over to real life and my occupation and family time. If I've got things that need to carry over and I've got certain obligations that I need to fulfill, I need to have them done by this time. That way I can have time to do other things.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah, time management. But I always think to the colonel from the A team. I love it when a plan comes together when you've got things kind of tightened down to the minute in your plan and you make it a reality. It's a good kind of skill to develop. So Fraser, what about
Absolutely.
you?
So with my occupation, I'm in customer service in the service industry. So you know, going back, 7, 8 years into doing milsim stuff, um, you know, learning the ability to talk to people over a wide spectrum. My quote unquote face to face conversations with individuals or groups as a whole, um, going over different steps to the process, to whatever situation that's arose. Um, you know, really just the face to face thing has become a lot easier in my life. Growing, talking to 50, 60 guys in an operation to talking to one on one, customer or individual when they need XYZ service done. It's helped me develop in a way that I can be comfortable. Talking to them like they're people and not like you're trying to buy something or give them something. Um, you know, Developing that one-on-one personal connection and building rapport with the individual that you're talking to, which kind of ties into the whole making people want to stay thing. The rapport building from XYZ person keeps them engaged, keeps them happy. Um, you know, Feel like they're a part of something bigger in their investment. Um, and that's what time is. After work, we work a 9 to 6 or 9 to 5 job. You're coming in and you're investing XYZ amount of time. Um, it keeps them, engaged and wanting to do it more. So I guess my, you know, personal personal conversation skills is, where I've learned to grow a lot during doing all this stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I love hearing that. I mean, yeah, it's quite anybody listening to this podcast is probably, if they haven't been in a unit or been in an operation, they've at least seen stuff on YouTube or on Twitch or whatever. It is chaos in motion. And yeah, whether you're managing time, managing people, managing communications, there are some days where it can be pretty challenging. And I'm thinking about your job in customer service. Yeah, I mean, there are some days where it can be a pretty thankless job, but if you're able to take those experiences on server in game and bring them out into the real world. I mean, it's like, hey man, you're making money on that stuff. So Really great perspectives again on making that connection between the virtual space and our real lives here. There's more crossover than I think some people expect until they get into it. So great stories. Now, talking about recruiting and retention, talking about bringing people in and keeping them connected here. Let's say that you were able to host a day in the life event for Spectre Works. What would you want viewers on the outside to see or experience looking in on the unit?
Primarily a day in the life. It's going to be rather hectic, depending on who you view it from. Truthfully, within our units, we've got our 2-6 Marine Corps, and typically our 2-6 is going to be our main infantry force. They do have the 2-6 ACAV, which is our armored division underneath the Marines. Um, a typical day in the life for them is going to look like small unit tactics and unit cohesion operations. And then we do have some very good guys that are running our armored corps under the Marines. You're going to see a lot of armor on armor, armor on personnel, and learning different ways to use armor rather than driving a tank up the middle of the road in a town. Um, on the air side of things and our special operations side of things, you're going to see our rotary aviators and the mishaps that they get into, whether it be we use primarily the hatchet system with our UH-60s, and our guys that do fly the hatchets, they get off and they're holding standoff engaging AAA with the DAP, or we've got our main logistics aviators that are carrying in vehicles and supplies for our ground personnel. Um, JSOC, you're going to be running across Delta, who is typically our higher speed, high speed, slow drag kind of guys, where they're going to be doing these HVT extractions or killer capture missions along with air cover from the 134th. So, truthfully, a day in the life for Spectre is going to be, at the end of the day, what you choose for it to be. If I had to say you're going to be a aviation kind of guy, we've definitely got rotary assets for you to get in and mess around with. We've got some really, really neat fixed wing assets. We have full fidelity F-18 Hornets. We've got 16s, 15s, you name it. And then if you're on the infantry side of things, a day in the life for you is going to look like small unit tactics, getting into the mix, really doing some street to street fighting and learning what works and what doesn't.
You guys really do have it all. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, it's like I've said it a million times. I love combined arms. And when you look at Arma 3, for all the kind of faults and limitations of the engine, really the only thing that I can think of three things holding you back in terms of having these really killer Arma 3 ops. One, of course, is the leadership. You got to have the right people, hosting the servers and Zeusing. Also, you got to have the right scripts and you got to have the right mods. But when you bring those three together, the sky is wide open. And just talking with you guys, I can tell that you're looking forward to getting people in here and really not only developing their potential, but seeing how they can push the unit as well. So really great stuff. It's like I wish we could, it's like we're starting to do these cinematics here. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that in the future maybe, but definitely I'd like to hear more from you guys going forward and get more eyes on what you have going in Spectre Works. So yeah, here's to 2027. It's like we're not even done ringing in the new year, but here we are looking forward to the times ahead. So I hope it is everything that you guys are working and planning for. Now, I got to ask, I always like these kind of lighthearted, fun questions, to kind of, take a lighter look at the unit and have a laugh at the same time. Let's say, your unit were, a famous military element. It could be from, the history books, from fiction, from a novel. who would you want Spectre to be? And why does that unit fit your guys there in Spectre?
So I'll kind of hit this on the head because it's going to be kind of a three-headed answer. Um, so top top two, I would say 100% for sure would be Warhammer and Star Wars, of course.
Mm.
So the Warhammer, we have a wide range of guys that like different chapters of Space Marine. So and I imagine that you kind of feel the same way. Um, so an element from fiction would be Space Marines is one, and then Star Wars. I'm gonna go with the age-old answer of clone troopers. Whether it be 501st, 212th Attack, Star Corps, whatever it be. But those two are probably the biggest within our group. Um, but if we're looking at history, we have the 101st Airborne, uh, the 506 from World War II, or the 82nd, or the Rangers. I can't really answer that and just say give one answer because there's so many groups in history or fiction that kind of resemble us because I can't really give one answer because we do multiple different things.
Right.
So whether or not you're gonna be pushing the beach or you're gonna be hanging back on the ship and pounding the shore, or killing the Xenos or whatever it be. With us, we have our own disorganized, organized bag of tricks. Um, as DOA put it, we can really do just about anything, and that kind of makes it awesome for the new people joining because it's we have everything if you want to do everything. Whether you want to fly an ARC 170 or you want to pilot an ATTE or whatever it may be. I can't really answer that question and give just one sole answer. Sorry, I just that kind of picked my brain a little bit when you asked that question.
I can certainly try to piggyback off of that and narrow it down to a viewpoint in mind. Man, certainly kind of piggybacking off of Fraser's standpoint, we do have so many assets and so many combined arm units that I would feel like it would be each individual unit would have a famous military element from whether it be history and or fiction. I'd have to say primarily, man, our Marines, our 2-6 Mu, I have to look at them like I look at the Death Corps of Krieg. I mean, they are really just trying to get after it and do these small infantry tactics. And fortunately and unfortunately, if you're the enemy, our Marines, if they run out of ammo, they're going to come after you with a shovel. That's just how they're bred.
All I'm saying is for the Emperor. That's all I'm saying, man.
Our air boys, we're looking at like the 561st Fighter Wing for a real life unit that our fixed wing guys really tend to pattern off of. And then I've talked to our armored lead quite in depth several times because he loves to learn the actual real life gunnery tables behind the vehicles that we're using, and he would have to probably pattern himself after um, the Seventh Corps and the Battle of 73 Eastings. He loves his Abrams, loves his Bradleys, and certainly now that we've added it, he loves his M10 Booker. So there's a lot of different aspects to what these units can be, and I think Fraser put it extremely well. We have a lot of different ways that you can think about these units, whether you want the Marine Corps to be patterned after, the 501st Vader's Fists during the time of the Empire, or you want to be some form of Marine Corps unit in Vietnam, or you want to go Death Corps Krieg or Black Templars, we certainly have these different aspects in which you're going to be able to look at these units and say, oh, yeah, this feels like this.
Well, I can definitely respect both your answers there. I mean, fair points across. It really is hard to nail it down to one particular unit, one particular place or time in history, or in fiction for that matter. But yeah, with the depth and breadth of what you've got going here with these different elements. I mean, some great answers. I mean, yeah, going back to Fraser at the beginning there, this question. I mean, mention the Space Marines. I was thinking every good Marine wants to be a Space Marine one day. So I can definitely relate to that. But um, seriously, yeah, it's impressive how much you guys, how many things, how many perspectives that you offer here. I mean, in your serious ops, I mean, you call yourselves a chill sim, but I mean, you're looking at geopolitics, you're looking at kind of real life scenarios here that you're putting into the Armorverse, and it's just impressive because you do have such a wide variety of different things to to enjoy to get into the experience of. So, good shit. Now, I mean, we definitely covered a lot here. I always try to hit from different angles to uncover, the ins and outs, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I mentioned here, of our different units here, to see where they're coming from and where they're going. Because, like I mentioned, we've got a lot of guys who are coming in, a lot of guys who are looking at different titles and trying new things here, and we want to make those lasting connections because that's what it's all about. We want to find our spot and find our billet and just to have a blast with friends in game. So I appreciate what you guys have going on, and again, looking forward to the future here. But as much as we have covered here, um, is there anything that we haven't really developed? Is there anything that you want people to know about Spectre Works that we might have overlooked or kind of misstated?
Truthfully, one of the big things is going to be for new guys coming in. It might seem daunting at first. We have a broad spectrum of a lot of great milsims out here in the Armaverse, in the gaming verse, that sometimes you'll join and they are just hitting you on the head with these proper certifications and stuff like that. And I want people to realize that while Spectre, while we're going to teach you these things, we're going to try to get as close to realism as we can with how we teach you and with some of the equipment that we run or some of the vehicles that we run. A great example would be our armored core running the M10 Booker. Theoretically, the Booker isn't out yet, hasn't seen combat yet, but that's just one way we'll kind of stretch it to make it to where everybody is going to have their aspects that they like. Um, I just want people to realize that yes, while it does seem daunting and it seems like we're going to beat you over the head with all this information when you join in reality, Spectre's here for you. We're here to build things that you're going to enjoy, you're going to have a blast in. And if you don't, we're going to find ways to work it in to where you will have fun. Um, we don't want Spectre to be seen as a yes sir, no sir, you need to salute me when we're in the server type of deal because there is a time and place for that, and I certainly appreciate the more realistic milsims that do get after that. There's definitely a niche aspect to those particular milsims where people eat that up, and I love that. But with Spectre being more of a chilled out aspect of it. We like to call it chill sim, tac sim, whichever you'd like to throw it. Um, we're really here for the enjoyment of the personnel that join in and the enrichment and betterment of those individuals that do join our community.
Outstanding. I mean, it's what I like to hear, working with and talking with other unit leaders out there, but also, For those new guys coming in, looking for their spot, looking for some people to run with. You take a look. Like I said, we got links below in the description here. See what Spectre's got going here because it sounds like they got a place for just about everybody, and for all the chaos of war and the complexities of Milsim, they're ready to welcome you in and get you up to speed so you can have a good time. To the point that they are. It sounds like a blast. So gentlemen, it really has been a pleasure talking with you here tonight. DOA, Fraser, it's like I always love these conversations. I always love learning. Like you learn from other units, I learn from you guys, and I'm sure a lot of our audience members do as well. But great talk, and really glad to have you on the show to ring in 2026.
We certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, definitely. I'm looking forward to keeping the comms open, like I mentioned, to see how things are going ahead. I mentioned, or I saw earlier today. You mentioned the voting bot. I saw you guys were, at the top of the Arma 3 page on milsimunits.com. So keep it going, and definitely we'll keep trying to bring out the best in everybody, and facilitating those opportunities to just get online and have a blast together. So, ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure, a really good one. I am pumped about 2026. I hope you guys are too. I want to wish you all a very happy new year. I've got some more podcasts in the works as always. That's my bread and butter here. So definitely looking forward to developing conversations as we move forward. Till that time, this is C. Brock signing off.